Today, Road Warrior Animal had tragically passed away. had tragically passed away between yesterday and today. So, I had woken up, did a bunch of chores around the house, and enjoyed my did to help some stuff around the house. And I got a message where I was told, "Oh, Road Warrior Animal just died," and I was thinking, "Oh, really?" And then I looked in more, and it turns out that not only had he died today, he had died on the same day, a day after his anniversary with his wife, and 12 days after his birthday. He had just turned 60. The perfect summarization of 2020, in my opinion, at this point, because 2020 likes to make everyone miserable and do things in such dark, twisted ways. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a moment of silence for Road Warrior Animal. Okay, but we can at least take comfort that Road Warrior Animal is with his brother, with his fellow comrade in arms, Hawk, in Wrestling Valhalla, giving adrenaline rush to the legends in the fabled ring. So, the Road Warriors are reunited, so we can at least look at that. So, in New Reality Collector's latest edition for this day, some big stuff happened in the world of professional wrestling. One of them, just a few hours ago, Lance Archer had confirmed on Twitter that yes, he has gotten the COVID-19 virus, and posted a tweet saying, "When I returned from our last show, a family member was ill when I got home. I found out later a friend who had taken my family member to the vet for, I can't pronounce that, was COVID positive while at home. Now I've also gotten sick, tested positive. I feel okay. Expect to see me in 2 weeks." So, due to the circumstances surrounding Lance Archer, they had to cancel the big 6-man tag team match, and Jon Moxley announced that he's putting his AEW title on the line in a title defense. Tony Khan announced that Eddie Kingston would challenge Jon Moxley with the title, and Tony Khan made the public statement after a ruling came out by Eddie Kingston saying, "I was never eliminated. Ha ha ha. Come on, Mox. We are cut from the same cloth. Ha ha ha. Come on, Mox. Come on." At Tony Khan, check the rules. I won it tonight. And Tony Khan agreed and was like, "You're right. You get it." So, yeah. Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley's on for tonight. We'll probably talk about that at a later video date. But, so Lance Archer, he's going to fight COVID and hopefully destroy it. But, Batman beat it up and is still running rampant. So, yeah, and I have seen people going ahead and saying, "Oh, this is AEW's fault," and no, Lance Archer's blaming everyone else but the, quote, sloppy shop that is AEW, and I'm thinking, like, okay, one, AEW had nothing to do with this. They had done everything they could. They like, there's going to be cracks in the big procedures. I get that. Two, Lance Archer came out and said this was basically on his personal time. And three, why are we pushing the anti-AEW narrative? Like, yeah, I called WWE out for all this bullshit because they do awful things, but I was like the fever check stuff they did and the lack of testing, but I was like, but I never really used I said that WWE's handling of the virus is horrible. I never said, "Oh, well, this guy got the virus, therefore that means it's WWE's fault." So, yeah. So that was the bad stuff going on all around. But let's try and give some positive stuff in. Pentagon Jr. Zero Miro files trademark for Pentagon Zero M, which, so apparently, Pentagon, AEW, so Pentagon is looking to trademark one of its monikers, applied to trademark Pentagon Zero Miro, As previously reported, Pentagon is now listed as Pentagon El0M on the AEW website, and that has been on his name on TV as well. AAA owns the Pentagon Junior name, and AEW is able to use the name due to the partnership between the two companies. AEW reportedly didn't want to use Pentagon Junior on merchandising, probably because of the trademarks, but let's dig deep into that article from yesteryear. Let's see. AEW used the Pentagon Junior name due to the relationship with AAA, which owns Pentagon Junior's name. Once AEW started merchandise for Pentagon and Phoenix, they reportedly didn't want to use the AAA-owned name. Okay, perfectly understandable reasoning. So Pentagon Junior's filed trademarks and everything. Let's see how that goes through. So as the continuing struggle of Cody Rhodes trying to get back trademarks that his father created from the WWE, Cody trademarked Slamboree and the Match Beyond as part of his initiative, and WWE is trying to fight back on it. It claims its use of Slamboree predates any use by Cody, who filed trademark terms in November 2019, and that his trademarks can cause confusion among customers because Vince really thinks that we're that fucking stupid. But yeah, this is going to lead to more trademark issues between WWE and Cody Rhodes. So yeah, the continuing struggle of Cody trying to keep his father's legacy alive, not just be WWE Network archival footage, and try to make events with the names that Dusty created. I totally get why. Because I think in Cody's mind that if his father made it, then his family should be the one that owns it. I'm not saying there might be an ulterior motive, but at the same time, it's like maybe that's the reason. He just wants to keep his father's stuff legacy alive and not just be used in a history book, basically, which was the WWE Network. And especially when WWE continues to find ways to take shots at the WCW empire because Vince can't let go that he won for some reason. I'm like, that's the reason why Sting lost, because Vince can't let it go. But, yeah, the current Intercontinental Champion, Jeff Hardy, has just signed a new deal, but he is closer to the end of the career than he is the beginning. So Jeff Hardy came on an interview and said on the Daily Star, Jeff Hardy said this: hopefully at the point where I can't wrestle anymore, there might be a creative place for me, but I do love pro wrestling and I'm interested in everything that's going on. I still don't feel like I'm a trainer, a coach, or a leader. I just feel like somebody who would never really be seen, but has these unique ideas that might be cool for a show or storyline. One thing I always said, and I still feel this way, is that as far as training other pro wrestlers or people who want to be pro wrestlers, if my two daughters ever want to wrestle and they're serious about it, that's when I'll get a ring and a building and get my training boots on. Other than that, I don't know what it is. I'm so heavily involved in my music now. I've been writing a lot, trying to improve as such as an intimidating industry. I'm involved in that and other artwork as well, and I do a lot of painting and stuff. I love all that, but I don't think I'll ever be a wrestling trainer, an agent, or a coach, or anything like that. So yeah, he's perfectly content not being a trainer, and that does kind of suck in my opinion, because there's so much knowledge Jeff Hardy can make, and so much lessons he can give to the future talent of the world. It would be interesting if he did do training stuff, but at the same time, there's a lot of variables involved. But yeah, I feel like that there's a lot of stuff he could teach the young kids, the youngins of the wrestling industry when they start coming up. But at least he says he'll teach his daughters if they ever want to get into wrestling. So more hyping up WrestleMania stuff. The Rock came out on a public statement with regarding Roman Reigns, and he admitted he would be honored to face Roman Reigns at the Showcase of Immortals. In this statement, you and I have talked about this, and it's funny how a lot of people say, well, if you ever go back to WrestleMania, who would be the opponent you would face? It feels like the one that would make sense, right, would be Roman in terms of box office draw. He added, but you know what? The truth is, I would be honored not only to share the ring with Roman and to go back to the WWE, I would be honored to have him raise his hand on that one. So this might tease the idea that Roman, since they're bringing the family stuff with Paul Heyman, the Usos, and Roman, and now it's looking like more and more The Rock would want to, like, people have been saying, like, people have been saying, hey, oh, well, The Rock, he wants to do this. How about we do it? Let's do it. Let's do it. But the biggest contributing factor of how, if this match happens, is that Hollywood has to approve of it. Because after Cena accidentally injured him with his hernia injury, The Rock had to basically retire before he could actually get his definitive ending, because Hollywood would not pay for the insurance and because he has too many movie contracts. So if he got hurt, say, against Roman Reigns, then then that would fuck up a whole bunch of movie productions they had going for him and delay certain projects, like he's doing the Black Adam stuff. And The Rock is pretty much one of the reasons why we probably got Henry Cavill back. So, yeah, really it has to depend on Hollywood's perspective. If they're all for it, that's cool. But at the same time, if Hollywood does go for it, they'll probably say, well, you can't do this and this and this and this and this and this and this, because John Cena didn't really wrestle at his final match as of now, because, well, he's Hollywood and everything. So they were like, okay, you could go and do the show, but you can't take any big bumps. So they did the Firefly Funhouse stuff. So, yeah, so that's pretty much the idea of where WrestleMania would probably go for Roman and Rock, because you gotta count that, well, you can't do the bumps if Hollywood doesn't approve of it. So, Xbox Phil Spencer has teased future Bethesda games. Spencer said he knows the future roadmap for Bethesda Game Studio and believes in an incredibly exciting time. I have a benefit of knowing a future roadmap and having some insight into the things that have been both announced and unannounced that the teams are working on. It's an incredibly exciting time for the work that Bethesda Studios are doing as they continue to craft of creating games, and also thinking about how our medium of gaming continues to evolve and their role in it. So, also in the interview, Spencer spoke about why he believes Microsoft's acquisition was the natural next step in their existing relationship. You find teams out there that are always pushing themselves in their own capability, and I fundamentally believe that the more closely we work with teams like that, the better we are as a platform. So, yeah, can you fire Todd Howard first? Because I don't think he's gonna like having, certain people telling him, Todd, you can't say that. You can't really piss everyone off. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting where they go with this partnership and this new deal. $7.5 billion, that's a big investment. It's like 3 times as much, 4 times as much as the deal that they did to buy Mojang and Minecraft, and that was a viable IP. But now it's like, now there's a lot of uncertain factors, like the PS5 and future games that were going to be developed for the PS5. Like, they did say that there would be a case-by-case basis, but deals that were already made will be fulfilled. So, yeah, Microsoft is at least being more integrating with the Sony Corporation, and it is going to be an exciting time to see where they take this. Zack Snyder and the Justice League. So, Zack Snyder is returning to direct the helm of the DC superhero team-up film Justice League Snyder Cut, according to The Hollywood Reporter. New scenes will be shot for the long-awaited Snyder Cut of Justice League, which will be released in HBO Max in 4 installments sometime next year. The shoot will last around a week, and a number of actors will step back into their roles from the original film, including Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck, and Henry Cavill. They'll also be joined by Ray Fisher, who, is currently having a war against Warner Media regarding alleged abusive work under Jeff Johns and the producers of and Joss Whedon and the producers of the original film. So, yeah, they're filming new additional scenes and everything, and I'm looking forward to that. And Zack Snyder basically has full creative control on this now, because this is his cut. This is his dream project. So this is part of the re-editing process and part of the adding new scenes in that were originally going to be shot, but then he had to leave due to the incident. So, yeah, it's going to be exciting to see the Snyder Cut be fully realized. I still wish they went with Justice League Snyder Cut instead of just saying Justice League the Director's Cut, because I feel like Snyder Cut is just a more valuable name to call it, because people petitioned it. There was over 500K. They raised a whole bunch of money, And you would think Warner Media would be like, let's call it Justice League the Snyder Cut, because the Snyder Cut is a very household name now. So they could have done that, but I don't know why they didn't. So the High Republic, which has been delayed due to the COVID virus and everything, has introduced a new lightsaber in the concept art, which is essentially Excalibur. Yeah, yeah, a Excalibur lightsaber, part of that whole Knights of the Jedi Knights of the Round Table. So this is what was said regarding this statement. With the High Republic, we wanted to implement a more traditional crossguard, but I still wanted to include the saber blade with the crossguard design, so Stellan would be able to defend himself against saber attacks. That's where Excalibur came into play, Disney Publishing illustration manager Jeff R. Thomas told StarWars.com. What would a lightsaber version of Excalibur look like? I started sketching and came up with a silhouette I really liked, but the practicality of holstering and seething, it nagged me until I had the idea that the crossguard didn't have to be stationary. Perhaps it could be activated or deactivated with the lightsaber, and so after some more sketches and some back and forth with Lucasfilm, it was decided that the crossguard would be activated as opposed to always being open, which would give the saber the slimmer silhouette while holstered, and would lend itself to some great visuals when activating. So, lightsaber crossguards, we're really hammering in the whole Knights of the Round Table vibe during the High Republic days. The lightsaber looks cool, the lightsaber Excalibur. It would be kind of cool to see, but at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, oh man, this is science fiction. They're trying to aim for that science fantasy thing that Star Wars was known for instead of being a science fiction tale. But I keep worrying that they're trying to take the fantasy stuff way too literal than it usually is. I mean, are we going to get new force powers, mysticism, all that? That's what makes it so science fantasy. But, yeah. So, Kit Harington, the actor who played Jon Snow, is swapping his trademark Game of Thrones male protagonist archetype, Jon Snow, for characters more comfortable in their masculinity. The actor explained to The Telegraph that the world needs less machoism culture and more openness for men to express emotions. He speculated that the need for men to shove their feelings down come from the Second World War, passed down from grandfather to father and son. Jon Snow, who was known for being the strong silent type, but Harrington believed making these attributes synonymous with heroism could cause damaging effects on the male psyche. We do not speak of how we feel because it shows weakness. It's because it's not masculine. Having portrayed a man who was silent, who was heroic, I feel going forward that a role I don't want to play anymore. It's not a masculine role that the world needs to see much more of. Harrington previously rejected the idea of returning to the role of Snow back in 2018 with his recent statement confirming his stance. Since Game of Thrones ended last year, Harrington has laid low, but will soon be re-entering the spotlight in Marvel Studios' Eternal, where he is taking on the role of Dane Whiteman, aka the Black Knight, a gene psychiatrist or psychic turned mythical superhero. So I read this and I was like, it's alright if characters are macho and everything, but at the same time they could also have depth to them. That's at least my viewpoint. I hadn't watched Game of Thrones at the end, but I did recall watching an analysis video where they said Jon Snow became more open with his emotions when, he died and came back and realized that there's nothing after death. The greatest fear of humanity, when they say, hey, there's an afterlife, and that when you pass away you'll enter a new plane of existence, whereas the fear of if there's nothing on the other side after death, then we need to live our lives to the fullest. So yeah, and make an impact. So I felt like that was what he's trying to go for or something. I don't know, but if he doesn't want to do that role, that's perfectly fine. So the Suicide Squad writer and director James Gunn would be producing an HBO Max series focused on Suicide Squad member Peacemaker, played by John Cena. So when this news came out, fans were a little worried that this would affect Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. However, he has come out on Twitter and said, no, that won't affect it. I'm doing Peacemaker in the time always allowed it between the Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Normally I would have been taking more of a break in this space, but it's COVID, I'm stuck at home, so I wrote a TV series. So, for Peacemaker is going to be a show which will be produced by Suicide Squad executive producer Peter Saban alongside Gunn, and Gunn will write all 8 episodes. Will star John Cena, who will also serve as co-executive producer. Gunn will also direct the show's pilot episode. So, as part of the forever expanding HBO Max content, they're borrowing elements of Disney, like saying we can get these high-list celebrities to do TV shows for our product for extra money, so we can sell the streaming service. And I don't know who Peacemaker is, so maybe John Cena could give me something with it when he does the big the role when the movie comes out, and it says it might be beyond 2 hours and really rated R, so that's gonna be insane. So I'm excited for this. I want to see what James Gunn can bring with Peacemaker, because now it's like James Gunn is the cross director, because now it's like he's working on Marvel, he's working on DC, he has both worlds of comics. And I did recall talking about how he said he'd be open to bringing in the other the workers at DC at Comics and everything, and Warner Media, and said, hey, come to the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 shooting thing. You know, we want you to take a look at this. So Fox continues the renewal of shows that really should stop airing, mostly just one I don't like anymore. Family Guy and Bob Burgers are key pillars to our network's success. By taking the genre to new heights and driving pop culture in meaningful ways, the Family Guy's been failing miserably lately, they've laid the foundation for making animation domination one of the most powerful program blocks in all of television. Both of these 2-season renewals affirm once again our commitment to animation and empower us to continue in our build as leader in the space with distinct and fresh new comedies. We'd like to thank Seth, Lauren, and their entire teams, not to mention our partners at 20th Television, and we're excited to continue these great shows with them. So, so Family Guy and Bob Burgers is renewed for 2 more seasons each. I haven't been watching any of them. I had never even watched Bob Burgers. I just saw like 1 episode, and it was the Thanksgiving episode, I think, regarding the turkey being flushed down the toilet. Yeah, that's about it. And Family Guy, I lost interest in it because it just weirdly kept staying around too long, suffering the same fatigue that many people say Simpsons suffered from. So, yeah. So, J.K. Simmons reveals why the MCU's J. Jonah Jameson is bald. And I was thinking, wait. So, it isn't because it's J.K. Simmons getting older in life? It's a reason? Yeah, I just thought, like, the reason why J.K. Simmons was bald was because he's getting old up there at age, and like, and the MCU's been more established as taking place way later in time, so they have to age the characters up a little bit. Yeah, so the reason for this change was to revise the MCU version of the character from both the comics and the Raimi films. Okay. So, apparently this was creative differences he had with the movie's production team regarding the modernization of Jonah Jameson. This is what he said. The only thing we didn't 100% see eye to eye on, I think, was how much different is this character is going to be from the character from, I think, the comic books and from the Sam Raimi original trilogy. And how much we want to evolve it and have to be more contemporary and more, I was very attached to what I had done previously for a variety of reasons, so I guess the compromise ended up being no hair, which I think, honestly, that decision might have just been them going, we don't have time to make a wig. We got shoots to him tomorrow in the office, so J. Jonah Jameson either lost his hair in the last few years, or he's wearing a headpiece for the whole time. I don't know, you pick. When I heard this, I was thinking, is this really the hill you want to die on? The hair of J. Jonah Jameson? And now you're just like, it's up for interpretation. I just thought, because J.K. Simmons is, I don't know. I just thought, just because. But no, there's apparently a deeper meaning to this. So, Brian Cage on the AEW front in the wrestling world says he's feeling sick following AEW Dynamite match cancellation. In an update, Cage took to Twitter and Instagram after the Dynamite changes and mentioned that he wasn't feeling good. Cage also said he's sick and out of the gym. Not feeling very well, but still looking good. Best body guy, even while sick and out of the gym. Flex bicep emoji. Hashtag machine. Hashtag Swolverine. Hashtag Redcon1. Hashtag body guy. Hashtag luchador brown underwear. Yeah. So, when I heard this, like, some people thought it was because it's probably COVID, but at the same time, it's like, it could be a stomach bug, or maybe he ate something wrong. Multitude of factors could have went into this, but, you know, we need to be certain, so we should get some testing done and check it out. That's about it. Retribution member calls out CM Punk. So, as we continue the decline of why should I care about Retribution because they have horrible names. So, yeah, CM Punk, CM Punk took some shots to Slapjack. If you see my video, you'll understand what I mean, why that's a problem. CM Punk took a post on Instagram where he wrote, when you're bored and catering and there's an abundance of paper plates. And then Shane Thorne, a.k.a. T-Bone, I think, yeah, T-Bone, and called him a coward to CM Punk. May you mock my brother Slapjack because you are a coward like every current and former WWE superstar. You tease leading Retribution, but we will not follow you to failure like your new Nexus. We will destroy this place piece by piece, including you if you ever show up. Punk has not responded to these statements, but so TBar, because that's such an intimidating name, tried to justify why he was calling himself that, which stands for terrorize, brutalize, annihilation, retribution. And I'm thinking to myself, Shane, just say, call it. Vince didn't know what he was thinking. Like, it's way too much of a thinker, I think. Yeah, I think it's way too much being a thinker. Like, did anyone even think about TBar being representing all those? It's like I kept saying on Twitter, like they should have went with code names that, you know, symbolize the universal law of entropy in society. Like one could be desolation and whatnot, like the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Like how Wyatt went and gave names of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse for his Wyatt family brethren. But, you know, that would be too deep and too intellectual. So we gotta scrap that. So, yeah. So it was announced that Johnny Gargano will take on NXT North American Champion Damian Priest for NXT TakeOver. No idea why. They never gave a reason. They just said, oh, well, that match is now official, even though we don't have a build-up, we didn't do a match, and we haven't really done anything with them. But we gotta do that because Johnny Gargano is TakeOver. So, yeah, I don't get why they did that, but, I don't know. So, Gargano is most likely going to lose again. I'm kind of disillusioned with that idea. In fact, one of my buddies on Twitter really hates WWE for how they've handled Johnny Gargano in recent times because they don't know how to stop. They don't know how to stop. So, Rey Mysterio's daughter is currently doing stupid angles because we had to keep driving this forward, and Ringside News didn't help matters when they say it's going to need a romance angle. So WWE moved forward with Rey Mysterio's daughter storyline and whatnot, and there's some speculation this may lead to her pursuing an in-ring career with WWE, but apparently that's not the case. That she will be working as an actress for WWE TV, not in-ring talent. So, yeah, and people were going ahead and doing the idea that Murphy was going to date her because 31, who's going to turn 32, is dating a 19-year-old. Makes total sense. Like, after what happened in June, you would think WWE would be that stupid, but I'm pretty sure they would be. Let's just hope they don't do that, and Ringside News is just coming up with a million different excuses to get clicks. But at the same time, it's like WWE probably now heard this story gain traction, and we're like, we can do that. So, yeah, and they had to repeat the whole Gargano say, "You are not the father," because we are creatively bankrupt. So Eric Rowan, a former Wyatt family brethren, says WWE jumped the shark with the Fiend. Really? So this is what he said on Pro Wrestling Junkies and took time to do a Q&A with fans. In the discussion, this is what he said. We were all like brothers. That also includes that some were closer than others and some got on each other's nerves. But it was a wrestling family. Some of the good stuff and the creativity that we had mostly didn't make it onto screen. I'm glad Wyatt is still getting his chance to show it weekly. I love the Fiend thing, but Daddy kind of jumped the shark with it. You can't have a bad guy that just gets killed and ran through a steamroller in the loss of Goldberg and comes right back. You can't expect that to have longevity. I'm hoping all this is going in and out of the Fiend character and the Bray Wyatt family Funhouse character. I hope the Fiend character only shows up and shows his face every now and then. It's kind of an oversaturation with it, kind of like the Finn Balor problem. You can't have a guy that comes out as a demon and make him lose, because that doesn't make him special. So in that point, I'm sure he'll work his way around it. He's been doing a phenomenal job. Rowan also reflected on his time with the Wyatt family, saying it was a special group of characters that he feels couldn't have been played by other guys. Wyatt family was a one-of-a-kind thing, man. To be part of that was surreal. That way, the way all the pieces came together, it just couldn't have happened with other dudes. In my opinion, we formed a piece and it just happened to work. No, it didn't. It should have. I agree with that. It should have been so much bigger, but Vince didn't want that. Cena didn't want that. He wanted to repeat the Nexus debacle. Bryan's hard work was ruined, putting them over. Wyatt had to spend years of creative hell to get back where he was, and now has to do his own material to make it work again. And he had to retcon so much stuff in order to make certain elements of botching of the direction to make it work again. Like that was one of the reasons why I love the Wyattverse so much, because it was trying to fix all the mistakes that he made, because Vince didn't want to fix it. He rather just burn it all to the ground. So, yeah. So, as we launch into the dawn of X's X of Swords, 10 of Swords, it has been announced that Bleeding Cool scooped up the news that there was an XMen classified book being set up in December that had yet to be announced. And it was also noted by Bleeding Cool that Al Ellering was meant to be doing a new X-Men comic book, and that the end of Empire had seen Al Ellering bring up a pissed off Abigail Brand and setting up a future where Abigail leads some team in a future apocalypse. Today it all comes together in the climactic conclusion of X of Swords creation number 1, with Team Summers and Greg going to a place that had been sent there in the telepathic messages by Luna Opal and whatnot, and before she arranged the grand battle for Otherworld between those of Krakoa and Naruto, including the weapons of choice. One of the weapons, the Light of Glador, wielded by Cable, will also on hand to reactivate something very special. Sword. The return of Sword, but also leading into a brand new title, SWXRD Sword. or maybe sword, or even X of sword. You get to choose. So, yeah, X of swords is a thing. X of swords' post-event comic is going to be Sword, a new special team of science cosmic wonders. And from the cover art, it looks to have Cable, Abigail Brand, and Magneto. And I've been wondering, besides X-Men, Magneto hasn't really done much other than cameoed. So, the mutant sword leader, Abigail Brand, Magneto, Teen Cable, Manford, and more, and some we don't, so why not meet WizKid, who is using Professor X's wheelchair from the 90s, though the design below suggests he doesn't always have to. Yeah, so they're bringing back a traditional X-Men cartoon style wheelchair, so that's fun. And how Marvel said this is going to affect not just the X-Men stuff, but also the cosmic Marvel universe. So the X-Men, they are preparing to continue their mighty expansion as a nation and head towards the stars. More so than ever. Also, X of Swords also had the X-Men Free Comic Book Day special, but it was noted that there was a lot of editing changes with the dialogue. The artwork wasn't changed, but the dialogue was changed, and you can go on bleedingcool.com to check that out because I can't go over that until I talk about the comic itself. So there were some dialogue changes that were altered, so we'll have to see where this goes. If this was an editorial changes, or Hickman had a different idea, or the comic book day thing was meant to just be a little bit of a slight misdirection to fans to say that this is where it's going, but no, it's actually gonna go here, which is usually Hickman style stuff. So yeah, so we're at the 36-minute mark of this, but we're not done and out of the woods yet. Well, you see, we're here to talk about something new. Today is Comic Book Wednesday. As such, we get to cover some comics that I've bought from the store, Third Eye Comics. Shout out to them. And first and foremost is this baby. X of Swords, 10 of Swords, #1 creation. And I got the wraparound variant with Mark Brooks. And this artwork is freaking phenomenal. It's illustrated by Pepe Larraz. And, he's an awesome guy. He's an awesome artist. And I do plan to cover this stuff. Like, I probably will cover X of Swords as part of a separate set of videos. But we'll talk about that when we cross that bridge. As we continue the track, we also got Death Metal, Speed Metal, with starring Wally West and the Flash family. Awesome story. It was a good story. I'll talk about that when I finish my other videos, but we'll cover that later. I also rebought Giant Size X-Men #1 Storm because they didn't have the variant here, but now I got it. So I'll probably do a giveaway of a code on Twitter, because that's where a lot of the activity comes from. But we'll see. Storm, Alex Ross Timeless variant, pretty awesome. Also, as part of my continuing initiative to get back all the books I didn't get, I got Fallen Angels #4, its final printing. I got Marauders #10. I got Excalibur #8. Books that I forgot to get during when they first came out and kept forgetting to get them. When I finally kept a list on myself and finally decided to get them. So, I finally got them. I have now completed my collection. Also in the Dawn of X lineup, Juggernaut. He's been rejected by Krakoa because he's not a mutant and thus has to set out a new path. A new miniseries, it says, is part of the Dawn of X initiative, though at the same time it doesn't say on the back at the end of the cover, at the end of the comic, about how is this part of the release order they do, because X of Swords is now going on. We also got Suicide Squad #9 by Tom Taylor. The continuing saga of why is Ted Kord the bad guy now all of a sudden? I don't get it. Batgirl 49, the penultimate issue to the Batgirl run of the Rebirth era. So, this is not really connected. This is loosely connected to the whole Joker War, but it's part of the Joker War collateral damage tie-ins. So, I'll have to cover this eventually. Also, I got DC Comics' Black Label Most Confusing Why Did We Publish This? The Last God, Book 1, The Felspire Chronicles. I still don't know why this is even a Black Label or even DC whatsoever. I don't even know. Like, I've been reading this stuff. I'll probably cover it one day in a video, but the artwork's pretty damn awesome. I got Immortal She-Hulk #1 on the Timeless variant by Alex Ross. Pretty damn good artwork. Legendary artist. As you can see, I'm collecting as many variants as I can of the Timeless era. I even went out and got myself the miniseries Antithesis just to get the Silver Surfer, because the Silver Surfer is freaking awesome with this Alex Ross variant. And also I got Undiscovered Country #8. I've been meaning to get back into everything. I'll probably cover it again in another series of videos. We'll see. It depends really. But that's about the gist of it. And finally, I got AWA Studios' Upshot imprint Archangel #8, issue 5 of 5, part of that completing the miniseries. And thus, those were my collected works of this week. With my favorites being Death Metal, Speed Metal, and the the Dawn of X's X of Swords, or its creation #1. So that's what is about it. That's the gist of it. We're looking forward to this new X-Men era and the continuing Death Metal saga. This was the Neo Reality Collective, episode 10. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, donate to for more. And as always, stay safe and take care. Rest in peace, rest in power, Road Warrior Animal. Keep bringing you the rush in Wrestling Valhalla.